Let's look at example number 3. So again, I'm going to start with x subtract and x subtract. And now I'm going to write down what I provided as the solutions or the zeros. Now when I distribute that negative sign, I end up with x subtract 2 subtract the square root of 5. Should make that a bracket. And x subtract 2 plus the square root of 5. I'm going to make 3 different markers here. I'm going to start by distributing x. X squared minus 2x plus the square root of 5x. Now I'm going to make 3 more. I'm going to distribute negative 2. Negative 2 times x, negative 2 times negative 2, and negative 2 times the square root of 5. Now I'm going to distribute negative radical 5. So negative radical 5 times x, negative radical 5 times negative 2 is a positive. Negative radical 5 times positive radical 5. Well, they're different signs, so it's negative. The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25, which simplifies simply to negative 5. Let's look for additive inverses. Let me show you an example. Positive radical 5x, negative radical 5x. They're directly opposite of one another. Positive 2 radical 5, negative 2 radical 5. What else do we have to combine? X squared, a negative 2 and a negative 2 is a negative 4x. Positive 4 and a negative 5 is a negative 1. Let's turn this into a function, polynomial function. Let's look at example number 4. This time we have 4 roots. So I have x subtract, x subtract, x subtract, and x subtract. X subtract 0, x subtract 1, x subtract 4 plus the square root of 3, and 4 minus the square root of 3. Okay, so x subtract 0 is simply x. And if I distribute, I end up with x squared minus x. Okay, now let's do the work over here, just like example number 3. I'm going to start by distributing the x, and I get x squared. Oh, I got it. This is tricky. X minus 4 plus radical 3, and this is x minus 4 minus radical 3. Okay, so x times x times negative 4, x times positive 3. I'm going to make 3 more. Now I'm going to take this negative 4. So negative 4 times each of these terms. Negative 4 times each of these terms. Negative 4 times x. Negative 4 times negative 4. Negative 4 times the square root of 3. 3 more terms. I'm going to take negative radical 3 times each term. Negative radical 3 times x. Negative radical 3 times negative 4. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. So positive 4 radical 3. And lastly, negative radical 3 times a positive radical 3 is a negative radical 9. And radical 9 is simply 3. Let's look for additive inverses. So here I have a positive and a negative. And here I have a positive and a negative, and I'm left with x squared minus 8x, positive 16, and negative 3 would give me a positive 13. Almost done. I'm going to distribute through to get x to the 4th minus 8x cubed plus 13x squared. Distribute through. Negative x to the 3rd plus 8x squared minus 13x. Okay, and now to write our function, making sure that this looks good at the end of the day, and I want to make sure I'm not making any simple mistakes. That all looks fine. Okay, so I have x to the fourth. Now let's look for cubes. Okay, negative negative is negative 9x cubed. Positive 13 and positive 8 is a positive 21x squared minus 13x.